This is part 3 of the Heeresgeschichtliches Museum in Vienna, Austria, the fascinating museum of military history. Having just finished the expansive and unique World War I display, we'll now head into the Republic and Dictatorship exhibit, which was renovated in recent years and may be changed again sometime soon. It tells the story of interwar Austria, from the dissolution of the Habsburg dynasty at the conclusion of the Great War, and the formation of the First Austrian Republic, established by the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye in 1919. The exhibit follows the Republic's collapse and the emergence of authoritarianism, followed by the Anschluss or annexation into Germany in 1938. The SDAP party and their Austro-Marxist policies, which was different from Bolshevik communism, governed for the first couple years of the Republic, but soon lost their parliamentary majority in 1920. The political atmosphere between the socialists and the right wing was intense throughout the 1920s, and the various parties formed their own paramilitary groups. By 1927, the right-wing Christian Socialist Party showed signs of heading towards a fascist state, which would be realized by Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss. A civil war broke out between these clashing ideologies in February of 1934. This painting is called The Revolution by Maximilian Florian, who recorded the scene during the February uprising when socialist paramilitary groups defended the Karl Marx housing complex against the Austrian Armed Forces and the Heimwehr, a nationalist paramilitary group. They soon had to surrender. M18 field guns like these were used during that nationwide uprising. There's some clothing of Ignaz Seipel, who is considered the father of Austrofascism. He was Austria's federal chancellor with the Christian Social Party from 1922 to 24, then from 1926 to 29. And there's his death mask. This plaque commemorates Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss and his dissolution of the National Assembly, with the proclamation of a new authoritarian constitution on May 1st, 1934, as he followed in the footsteps of Mussolini in Italy. Things did not go so well for Dollfuss, as he was assassinated on July 25th by Austrian Nazis in a failed putsch, which means coup attempt. That is the sofa that Engelbert Dollfuss bled to death on, as well as his death mask. This plaque featuring Hitler's profile commemorates the official annexation of Austria to the German Reich on April 10th, 1938. Hitler had proclaimed the Anschluss of Austria at the Heldenplatz here in Vienna to a massive cheering crowd, and the Austrian military was incorporated into the German Wehrmacht as well. That is a Volkswagen Kugelbunker, which was designed by Ferdinand Porsche during the Third Reich. After the Anschluss, this museum became part of the Military Museums Association of the German Reich and received a complete makeover with special emphasis on the historical similarities between Austria and Germany. This portrait head of the Führer was also installed in this museum. There's a Heil Hitler pillow, never seen one of those before. That's just one example of the extensive Nazi memorabilia on display. This tableau of Nazi uniforms is called the Opera of Aggression. There's a classic sidecar motorcycle. There's a Feisler Phi 156 Stork. These planes were used by the Luftwaffe for reconnaissance. There are some submachine guns, a gas mask, and a paratrooper uniform. That is a Kettenkrad, which, believe it or not, surpassed the off-road capabilities of all the other vehicles in the Wehrmacht arsenal. This is a Flak 38, the primary light anti-aircraft guns of the Germans. They built 3 flak towers in Vienna to defend the city from air raids, which they did not really hold off. Vienna was bombed many times throughout World War II, and about 20% of the city was destroyed. That's a machine gun stand from an American B-24 bomber. There's the mangled remains of an M2 machine gun that was recovered from the wreckage of a downed American B-17 bomber, as well as one of its propellers and a bomber jacket. That is a Goliath mine, a remote-controlled mine that could be detonated on command. That's interesting. A gas mask for a small child. They would put the whole child in the bag for protection. This is a Steyr Gebirgsschlepper, or RSG, used on the brutal Eastern Front of World War II. There's a Panzerstera, an anti-tank obstacle. They would sometimes be called a Czech Hedgehog. These are the remains of a Borgward IV. This was uncovered along with many other abandoned relics of the Vienna offensive while building the Südbahnhof in 2010. Oh wow, there's a Kugelbunker, an unusual little one-person sphere bunker that was developed by the Germans in 1945, so they hardly saw any use. That is rather unique. As the war in Europe was coming to a close, the Soviets undertook the Vienna offensive and took the city in a bloody fight around the suburbs and in the city itself. The Allies did consider Austria as the first victim of Nazi aggression, but still divided Austria, as well as the city of Vienna itself, into 4 occupied zones amongst the Soviet Union, United States, United Kingdom, and France. It remained under the joint occupation until 1955, when the Second Republic was established. There's a Willys Jeep, used by the Allied military police here in Vienna during the early years of the decade-long occupation. The next exhibit is about Austria's naval power. Being a largely landlocked empire, they did not build any sort of navy until the Ottoman Wars to defend the Danube, but when Venice and Dalmatia became part of the Habsburgs' territory, the Venetian fleet formed the basis of the Imperial Navy, and the now Austrian ships engaged in battles during the German-Danish War of 1864 and the Austro-Italian War of 1866. Archduke Franz Ferdinand supported the further development of an Austrian navy, and in 1908 the first Austrian submarines were built. During the Great War, the navy was used to protect the Dalmatian coast, but with the end of the war, Austria lost its maritime possessions and sea access. This is a cutaway model of the SMS Viribus Unitus, a dreadnought battleship built at Trieste in 1908, and used to bring Archduke Franz Ferdinand and Sophie on their fateful trip to Bosnia. There's a Whitehead torpedo, developed by the Austro-Hungarian Navy, and back in the day the US Navy got a hold of some of these. There's a scene of the Austro-Hungarian North Pole expedition to the Arctic from 1872 to 74, during which they found a desolate archipelago that they named Franz Josef Land. This is the highlight of the display, the conning tower and hull salvaged from the shipwreck of the U-20 submarine. It was built during the Great War, armed with 2 bow torpedo tubes and a deck gun, but it was sunk in July of 1918 by an Italian submarine after doing nothing the whole war. All the crewmen on board were killed. The wreckage was found in the Adriatic during the 60s, so here it is. That's pretty neat. Here are some submerged relics that were found in or around the submarine wreckage. On the top of the deck we can look down into the conning tower. Outside there are some tanks and other big armaments on display. This is an American M24 Chaffee, which was provided to the Austrians in 1956. And that is a Centurion tank, which was produced by the British. That concludes the tour of the Heeresgeschichtliches Museum. This is a totally different military museum from any others I have been to, as I had never been to Central Europe before, so I got to learn a lot more about the long and complicated history of military engagements in this part of Europe. It is a colossal and fascinating museum that you should definitely check out for yourself on a visit to Vienna. If you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel for more. I have filmed hundreds of videos on other military museums, historic locations, and all sorts of attractions here in Vienna, across Europe, and in the United States of America. If you haven't seen the other 2 parts of this series, then check the video description for links to parts 1 and 2. Additionally, please click the like button of this video, also share it and subscribe to my channel for more. I'd really appreciate it, and thanks for watching!